Good morning and welcome to Veterans Heartbeat on the Pulse of the Veteran, where we discuss issues of health, happiness, opportunity, and well-being of interest to the veteran community, their families, and the community who honors them.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Veterans Heartbeat, brought to you by River, the Rural Institute for Veterans Education and Research. My name is Jason Zenkgraf. My co-host Ed Lisowski is here with me, and he is the Executive Director of River. We welcome you to a weekly wide-ranging discussion of issues, events, opportunities, and needs in our veteran community. Morning, Ed. How you doing?
Morning, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing good. As said before, we are also sponsored by River, who offer many services to veterans, such as free weekly vestibular disorder testing and educational programs that focus on veterans helping veterans. On today's episode, we're joined by former Army Surgeon General, Major General Pullock, retired. She's going to be talking about different issues that she's noticed in the veteran community.
Good morning, General. It's really an honor to have you on our show this morning.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Now, I know you toured our facilities yesterday, and you included some really fascinating information on people with low vision and no vision. And I think that's something that we really need to talk about here on Veterans Heartbeat because it does affect our veterans.
Oh, it absolutely does. When I did the original research while I was still on active duty, working with all of our data folks, we discovered that 10 to 13% of all combat injuries involve the eye. Now, it may be something as simple as a cut eyelid. It could be as severe as the removal of the eye. And as we've learned more about vision changes that accompany traumatic brain injury, what many people call TBI, there are significant vision changes that occur with that, and it also makes people with traumatic brain injury much more prone to early eye disease.
You were the interim Army Surgeon General, and you were also a Major General on active duty. That is a lot of accolades for, and I hate to say it, but for a female. There's not many female generals out there. So I want to give you a shout out for what you were able to accomplish in your career.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was an honor to serve. I joined the Army when I was 17. My mom signed the paperwork for me. They sent me off to college on a scholarship, and I loved taking care of soldiers. So I kept with the Army until they finally said, we don't have any jobs left for you. And I was like, all right, well, unfortunately, that means I have to leave, but it wasn't because I wanted to leave. I love working with service members.
Well, and you've been working out east with soldiers and actually civilians with the low vision.
I've been trying for a number of years now to help people with low vision, but, because it's both a military and a civilian issue, it's going to become worse, and it will affect our military in the future, which most people aren't thinking about. Because of how heavy, how obese our children are, at 5 and 6 and 7, they're developing diabetes related to their obesity. Well, unfortunately, it only takes about 15 years for diabetic retinopathy to rob you of a significant amount of sight. So normally when people are, 20, 25, 30, they're really developing their potential, contributing to communities, to the workplaces, starting their relationships and their families. And we as a society are not ready for the large number, estimated now to be a minimum of 15% of the folks who are currently under 25. Imagine 15 out of every 100 of them not being able to develop their skills because they have a significant vision loss. I don't think that that's a loss to our society that we can really manage.
Well, it's an economic, it's a hardship on families, it's everything.
And when I think about our military of the future, we have trouble now finding qualified citizens to be members of our military. And if we lose another, X percent, I don't know how we're going to manage our military. So we have to come up with solutions for the visually impaired population.
Well, you're one of the ones that's broken several glass ceilings in your career. First female Army Surgeon General. You are a nurse anesthetist. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Now you're working very hard on solving another problem of the visually impaired. And one of the problems we have, like you said, is the issue with diabetes and heart disease, both of which can cause vision problems. Am I correct?
Well, the heart disease often accompanies obesity and the changes that occur in your body. Once you're heavy, you tend to develop other issues. You get high blood pressure, you get renal failure, you get cardiovascular disease, you have heart attacks and strokes. Because of the obesity epidemic, that was one of the reasons I was so delighted with the programs that you're offering in exercise and the guidance that you're providing to our veterans about exercise. Because not only is it good for your mental health, it's essential for your physical health. So you guys are just doing amazing things to help our veterans live high-quality lives. I was really delighted when I met you and learned all about the work you're doing.
Well, thank you, General. We appreciate that. That was one thing that we really wanted to make sure was incorporated into our program, is the exercise and nutrition. If you're eating like crap, you're going to feel like crap. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but you are what you eat. You put good food into your body, you're going to have a good result. You put poor food in your body, you're going to have a poor result. And then the exercise it's such a cornerstone to health because it helps. It just helps your body regulate hormones. And if your testosterone, growth hormone, all these other hormones are low, well, your depression, anxiety, anger, all these things rise. All these things get worse. So it's a very important aspect of our training, and we appreciate your input on it.
I think it's very important. And the piece that I'm not sure that people understand about the nutrition side is when they start to eat better, they discover that it takes a while to retrain your mouth because your mouth gets accustomed to certain textures and flavors. And with all the sugars and all the salts that are in processed food, it can take a long time. It takes about 6 weeks for your mouth to reestablish enjoying non-sugar, non-salted things. But once your tongue recovers, it's like food tastes so much better. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize food could taste this good. It takes people a while, and new habits are difficult. That's why it says it seems to be 6 weeks is about the magic period of doing something new. And once you've done it for the 6 weeks, you can pretty much know that you've been able to build that habit.
One of the courses that we do have in our curriculum is Health Coach, where we do try to teach how to eat more healthy.
Yeah, and what you're talking about before, General, is your mouth adapting. That's something most people don't really think about, but last time I went on a very stringent diet, I mean, I essentially didn't have carbs or a very low amount of carbs for a long period of time. I didn't have fast food. I wasn't really overly salting my foods, and I remember after I got off this diet, I said, you know what, I'm going to go to McDonald's, I'm going to have a Big Mac, bunch of fries, and my mouth hurt. My tongue was raw. The roof of my mouth was raw. I wasn't used to all that salt, all that fat, and all that grease. And yeah, it was really uncomfortable. But yeah, I mean, your body does get used to what it's taking in. And when you're used to having all this sugar in your diet and then you remove it, expect to get headaches. That's going to be a side effect until your body adjusts and gets used to having good food.
Yeah, it's almost like a withdrawal.
Yeah.
Your body has to adjust to the fact that you're not giving it all of that salt, giving it all of that sugar. But it's so hidden in the products that we eat. That's why I laugh and tell people that if you stay on the outside square of the grocery store, where it's, produce and dairy and meat, and avoid all the aisles in the middle, then not only are you going to get in and out cheaper, but you're going to have a whole lot better food, both in your cart and eventually in your belly.
And a little bit of sugar doesn't hurt. Like I know you got sent home with the huckleberry pie from Polson. How'd that taste?
Well, that was delicious. I was in Montana for the first time last summer and had the opportunity to taste huckleberry pie, so I was delighted that I was here at a time of year that I could have another taste. But, I've waited a year. Pie is not something I normally eat, but I certainly enjoyed that as a treat.
And that's just it. A lot of the desserts are what we should be calling a treat.
Mm-hmm.
What organizations are you affiliated with right now?
Well, I do healthcare consulting through my own company, which is Pollock Associates. I work with a company in Canada that has a device for sight called eSight, E like the letter Echo, Echo, E, Sight, S-I-G-H-T. And they're able to return a full field of vision to people with vision loss from retinal disease if they have some functional retina left. I didn't believe it when I first heard about their product, and I kind of crossed my arms and said, oh, that's baloney. Actually, I used a different word than baloney. And they invited me to meet with some patients that they were doing evaluations on. And a gentleman who had not been willing to tell anyone that he couldn't see well because he didn't want to be treated stupid, because for some reason in the U.S. we have a stigma that if your eyes don't work, your brain must be dead. And we treat people with vision loss as though they're stupid. They're not stupid, their eyes just don't work.
So, General Pollock, can you tell us a little bit more about where you're going with your career now post-military? A lot of veterans have a secondary career. What are your goals?
Well, my goals are to really make a big difference in the lives of the visually impaired. People don't realize that it's one of the top 10 disabilities in America. And as I mentioned earlier, it's only going to get worse. So I really, as a nurse, I have always wanted you to live at your highest quality of life in spite of disease or disability. So people need to understand how common the disease is so they can start to be supportive and helpful to one another so we can break those stigmas. I'm personally working on a software program that will allow the visually impaired to get any information that they need in order to address the concerns they have about their life once they get a diagnosis of vision loss or reduction in their vision. So whether they're concerned about modifying their home or workplace accommodation so they can stay employed, if they want to participate in clinical research trials somewhere around the country, if they want to know about the assistive devices that other people with a similar disease find helpful, or classes that other people with a similar disease find helpful, recreation opportunities, finding another person with their disease to talk to so they don't feel like they're the only person on earth that's struggling like this, and using software to bring them all together to get that information very, very easily to them. That's my big project right now. We have to keep learning and growing. The transition for me into the civilian world was actually pretty hard because in the military, even if we didn't like each other, we always told each other the truth because we understood that lives were at risk. Well, civilians don't have that kind of motivation to tell the truth. And I really struggled with finding people that I thought understood what the word integrity meant. So I really understand how hard it is to get settled in jobs and careers in the civilian world when you've learned that you should be able to trust the people that you're working with. And I think that that's a huge challenge for us as we leave the military.
Well, that brings up the next point, River, how we've been working with the transitional periods of veterans' lives, even when they've been 20 years out and still struggling with transition. You got to tour our facilities. What'd you think?
I think that you guys are really on the right track, looking at balance in people's lives, and so talking about education so that they can prepare for a different career field or make a transition from one career field to another. Looking at their health and their exercise so that their physical and mental health can be improved. Teaching them about spirituality and mindfulness. so that they can, be in the moment and not get stuck in the past or spend time worrying about the future. I was very impressed with the variety of programs you folks are offering.
With everything that you've been going through, one issue that we struggle with at River, because there is very few veterans that are female, but we've got several students that are female veterans. In your opinion, what are some of the things we at River or different organizations could do to help female veterans with the transition?
I would encourage you to find some women to volunteer with you or to work with you on your staff, because unfortunately, because of the military sexual trauma that a number of women will go through while they are in the military, which is an absolutely horrid experience, they really want to talk to other women. They've been grossly violated, both physically and emotionally, by people who should be their trusted comrades. And so having some women on the staff to be able to encourage them that it'll be safe, I've got your back, it'll be okay. We can work through these things. Because for the women, there's a larger number of women now that are becoming homeless after being in the military than men, and it's related to the military sexual trauma. So finding women to participate and to be on your staff, I think, would be an important way forward.
Well, that brings up an interesting point when you talk about military sexual trauma. I've touched on it before, but we were talking yesterday, and you had addressed it in regards to men. Can you reiterate what you said yesterday?
Oh, of course. For women, the issue of sexual assault in the military is comparable to being on a college campus. Basically, 1 out of 4 women on a college campus will be raped at some point in time during their 4-year tenure on a campus. And they're estimating now that 1 out of 4 women, young women in the military, particularly our enlisted women, will experience rape inside the military. And that's just totally unacceptable. But when you look at sexual assault, that's why we call it military sexual assault, because more men are raped by other men than women are raped by men. So if you look at the proportions, it's many, many more men are affected. And we need to be very, very aware of the trauma that goes along with that, because when people's trust has been violated that way, it can be very difficult to recover. So being sensitive to the fact that that is a real issue in our society, this is not just a military issue, because people come from all walks of lives and areas around our country. And obviously they must think in various places that sexual assault is okay. And so it's not just a military issue, but I think because of the special bond that we develop with one another, it's something that we may actually be better able to help our veterans, whether they are male or female, than they will be able to help the civilian men and women.
In the work that we've done around Montana, we've encountered almost 30 guys that have been raped by another guy while serving over in the sandbox. Is that in line with what your statistics are showing?
Well, because I don't know what size the population is and when they were in the military, it's really hard to say if it matches other area experiences. I would just say that the reality of that rape, we can't deny it. We can't deny it. And we need to just keep teaching, whether it's inside the military or in the civilian world. It's just their behaviors that are totally unacceptable. If you've been a victim of military sexual assault, I would tell you to find someone to talk to, because not everyone out there that you're going to meet is a bad person. And you really can develop trust in people again, recognizing how bad that experience was. There's no taking away from the horribleness of that experience. But we can heal from even very, very bad experiences. And I would tell them that even if it's a tough road, they can get through this, and they don't have to do it by themselves.
Well, River's got counselors available for any guy out there listening.
Or gal.
Or gal.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just something that we're going to have to just take time with. It's not going to be easily solved, and they're not going to recover overnight.
We're wrapping down rapidly here, General. Is on your trip you get to meet the VA Secretary and Senator Tester and Senator Daines. You want to make any comments?
I'm very pleased with the improvements that I have seen under our new secretary. He's developed a good group of leaders who are truly committed to changing the culture of the VA. And the challenge, in my mind, is really that there are pockets of unacceptable behavior across the country in the VA. And it's going to take a while for the men and women in those locations that really want to be a high-quality service organization to our veterans to trust that the leadership now has their backs. So some of his work now with protection of whistleblower, very important. Because in the past, if you raised an issue, you became the problem rather than addressing the problem. They would attack you as the informant. So making sure that they follow through on those changes, I think that's where they're going to reap significant benefit. And the fact that they want the veterans to have choice about what happens to them. How far are they willing to travel? How long are they willing to wait? You know, what kind of services do they really want? What will help them have their highest, as I was saying before, the highest quality of life possible in spite of disease or disability? It's been broken for a long time. It's not going to be a quick fix. But I really believe that the Secretary is on the right path.
Well, one thing that I noticed in that meeting was the teamwork. I mean, Daines and Tester both said they're crossing aisles to help veterans. That is so great to see that.
Yeah, it was very uplifting, very hope-filled to hear that there's at least one issue in Washington now that we can get bipartisan agreement on, and that's taking good care of our veterans. So that was probably the best news I heard Monday in the town hall.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up here. So I really appreciate your time, General, and I appreciate you touring our facilities, giving us pointers on what we can do better. And I want to give a shout out to Senators Tester and Daines. Thank you very much for bringing the Secretary up, and thank you for really coming together to help us veterans out here.
Well, I'll second that shout out. Thank you all very much. It's been an honor to meet you, and I'm very, very pleased at the work that you're doing in support of our veteran communities.
Well, thank you very much.
Montana's lucky to have you.
Thank you very much. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on our show, coming up to Montana, seeing what we do at River, and getting to meet some of our students and the veterans we serve. So thank you very much, General. We appreciate your time.
Oh, well, you guys keep doing the great work you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you on another trip out here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for listening to Veterans Heartbeat. We would not be able to bring it to you without all the support of the listeners. Thank you to our main sponsor, River, the Rural Institute for Veterans Education and Research, who have an array of services such as veterans-focused education, a free vestibular disorder clinic, and many more services. Check them out on Facebook or on the web at riverofchange.org. Lastly, we would like to show our appreciation to all of our veterans. Thank you for serving our country and keeping it safe.